Star Wisdom, Principles of Pleiadian Spirituality by Jean Andrade. Chapter 4, Balance and Truth. Balance in all things could be the motto of the Pleiadians. They strive to maintain balance in all ways, in their own selves, in the way they live their lives, and how they function as a society. They participate in this universe by helping less advanced races to evolve, and by using their highly advanced technology and awesome power to maintain order and harmony in certain sectors of space. Our solar system seems to be one such area. Maintaining a neutral and positive mental state, Pleiadians avoid any excessive negativism or positivism, both of which they view as unbalanced. Staying mentally neutral, along with having an overall loving, positive outlook on life, is their optimum way of being. This equilibrium enables them to function with greater clarity and integrity. If any Pleiadian on their planet Era persists in negative thinking, it upsets the mental atmosphere, which we call the noosphere, on their planet. And because the Pleiadians are so telepathic, they can discover just who is creating this negative mental vibrational state. And that person is told to change their thinking or get off the planet. Their race lives on many different planets, so that is certainly an option. Pleiadian society. It is the Pleiadians' honoring of truth and spirituality that is their primary factor in having such a utopian society. They have enjoyed a state of peace now for the last 50,000 years. After almost destroying themselves time after time with global and interplanetary civil wars, the Pleiadians finally chose to base their society on spiritual principles. They elected the most highly spiritually evolved beings of their population to be their governing officials. And as a race, they decided to surrender all crucial decisions to a much more advanced race of beings in the Andromeda galaxy. That race is one that is partially material and partially non-material. And this is Crispy's voice here. What we would consider upper 5D and going into the 6D. Back to Jean. As the Andromedans now are at the evolutional stage where they are transitioning out of the material plane. With guidance from such a highly evolved race of people, the Pleiadians have eliminated war from their lives and have been able to achieve great technical mastery over the material plane. This is Crispy again, but I feel the need to say that their society most likely has no such thing as money whatsoever. And back to Jean. They have the capacity to travel anywhere in the universe or even to other universes. They claim to have the ability to travel through time, either to the past or the future. They say that all time is now. The past is over and cannot be changed, but the future is always in flux. So when they travel to the future, what they encounter is just one possible timeline. They have been able to extend their lifespan from approximately 700 to 1200 years. With the elimination of all diseases, they enjoy perfect health. They have machines that can dematerialize their bodies and rematerialize them somewhere else, just as is done in Star Trek movies and TV shows. And that was the way they usually met with Billy. They would dematerialize him when he was in his house, and then rematerialize him on board one of their beam ships. Billy, by the way, loved practical jokes, and when a contact would end, he would often have Semnyase dematerialize him from on board the beam ship to right on the ground in front of one of his friends. This would be quite a shock to the friend, and to have Billy suddenly laughing and sprouting right up in front of him. The Pleiadians also can cloak their beam ship, just like in Star Trek, causing it to be invisible to others. They have the ability to make any form of matter become transparent as well, to themselves. For example, if they want to see through the metal wall of an Earth satellite, they can do so, observing the astronauts inside and all their actions, and at the same time, the astronauts cannot see outside their metal walls of their satellites. Machines on board the Pleiadian beam ships can locate individuals through identification of their unique brainwave patterns. Because everyone's patterns are unique, just like our fingerprints. They can scan the conscious and subconscious parts of anyone's mind, no matter where they are in the omniverse. At one of the early contacts, they demonstrated to Billy a machine that would do just that. They tuned in to the ruler of Spain, Francisco Franco, who was dying at that time. The machine showed how Franco's conscious mind was terrified of dying, but his subconscious mind was at peace with death. Semnyase explained that Franco's subconscious mind knew that only the body dies, and so there was no need to be fearful. But his conscious mind had not learned that spiritual truth and was therefore fearful and struggling against dying. This is likely true of most of humanity over the past few millennia. This machine also told when Franco would die, and afterwards Billy sent a letter to a friend revealing that date, which was about 1 week after that contact. And in fact, Franco did die on that day. Pretty cool machine. The Pleiadians observe our solar system from a mothership that is 17,182 meters in diameter, housing 143,000 people. Interestingly enough, in the 1980s, my local newspaper printed 2 articles within 1 week about the sighting of a very large planetoid-like object that was only visible through infrared light. Curiously, after these 2 articles appeared in print, there was never another mention of this phenomenon. Perhaps the object moved in a non-orbital way, showing that it was not a planet, but perhaps a mothership. And therefore all future reports of the phenomenon had been censored? I don't really know. The mothership is a self-sufficient world containing many androids which do a lot of the maintenance work. Androids are intelligent robots that are part organic and part machine. Even the Pleiadian beam ships themselves are part organic. Each beam ship has an organic brain that is tuned to the brain of the individual that is piloting it and can be operated telepathically by the pilot. No buttons, no knobs, no nothing. Pleiadians usually communicate with one another telepathically as well. They say that we humans, too, have that capacity to be telepathic, and eventually we will communicate in that way with each other on Earth. With their incredible technology, the Pleiadians have been able to change the color of their sky. They claim that they have engineered the sky on Erra to be green colored. We don't know what color their sky was originally, and why or how they did this is not revealed in Billy Meier's contact notes. Perhaps the reason has something to do with increasing the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, since they mentioned to Billy Meier that the oxygen level of the air on their mothership was much higher than the oxygen level on the surface of planet Earth. The increased amount of oxygen contributed to their high level of health and their ability to go for days without the need of sleep. With androids and robots doing most of the menial work, and with such an advanced technology that protects them from any harm, the Pleiadians are free to devote their time and energy for creative pursuits and for serving others. On their home world, Erra, which is a planet that revolves around a star near the one we call Taygeta in the constellation of the Pleiades, but in a slightly different dimension, that is, in their words, a half-second off of this dimension. The Pleiadians devote a few hours a day to work and the rest of the time to spiritual, artistic, serving, and scientific pursuits. Pleiadian marriage and parenthood. Pleiadians fall in love and marry and have children just as we do. In Billy Meier's contact notes, Semyase has emphatically stated that Pleiadians are strictly monogamous. When a Pleiadian man and woman marry, they do so as equals. One does not possess the other. They unite in harmony, love, and understanding, taking joy and delight in each other and planning their lives by mutual agreement. And remember, they could possibly live to be over 1,000 years old together. A Pleiadian mother has the ability to meditate and then contact the incoming soul that will be born through her. Asking the spirit what it wants to accomplish in its upcoming lifetime, the mother determines how to best raise the child by offering it the training and experiences that will most advantageously serve its life path and soul evolution. Thus, a soul that wants to develop musically could from a very early age be exposed to music, even in the womb, and receive guidance in that direction, while a soul that wanted to be a scientist would receive a different type of upbringing. Homosexuality, by the way, is considered to be a symptom of spiritual confusion, according to the Pleiadians. When a soul is about to incarnate, it programs its own DNA of the developing embryo to become either a boy or girl, depending on which sex it chooses to be. And this is crispy here, but we have located the date of that as being approximately 49 days, 7 weeks of 7 days after sperm and egg come together and begin the process. We have noticed that at approximately 49 days, the fetus then becomes male or female. Up to that point, it is both. And all humans retain the DNA for both sexes inside all of us. Back to Jean. Depending on which sex it chooses to be, however, if the incoming soul is confused about which sex it wants to be, it still chooses one, but the confusion can translate into homosexuality. The Pleiadians say they can detect such a tendency while the person is still young and then educate and counsel them to help develop as a heterosexual man or woman. Pleiadians are semi-vegetarians. They eat mostly fruits and vegetables. Of course, they have no chemicals or harmful farming practices on their planet. And sometimes when they feel the need to be a little more grounded, they'll eat a small rabbit-like mammal. Mostly they just eat snacks of small portions rather than large meals. And they can often go for days without eating or sleeping. All in all, they have bodies that are much finer than our dense 3D ones, as they are moving up the dimensional and density ladder. Also, rather than exercising as we do to keep in shape, Semyase told Billy that they use their power of right thinking to maintain their health and fitness. On their planet, there must be a balance between materialism and spirituality. If at an early age the Pleiadian human gets entangled into material thinking, they can be influenced to have excessive greed for possessions, thereby becoming obsessed by feelings of hate and love eventually. As in love for material things and hatred of others who possess those things. This can lead to viewing other people as possessions as well. Therefore, the Pleiadians educate their young beyond such attitudes of possession and ownership, and they no longer feel envy or possessiveness towards anyone or anything. They say the degree of possessiveness of a culture can be a good measure of its level of evolvement, which tells us quite a bit about our own planet. Another critical factor is the subtle influence of thoughts upon people. The Pleiadians tell us that Earth's cult-like religions foster illogical, insane, and negative thoughts, and these serve to lessen the lifespan of humanity on Earth. Also, the greater the number of people assembled in one place, such as a large city, the greater can be the negative influence upon the inhabitants' mental state and lifespan. Pleiadians do not live in cities. They have small, family-type dwellings surrounded by beautiful natural settings. Another gauge of a society's spiritual level is the average length of life of its members. The higher the spiritual level, the longer the lifespan. Earth humans used to have a lifespan of 1,000 years, just like the Pleiadians do now, because the spiritual level on Earth used to be quite high. But when Earth people turned to false religions, their spiritual level plummeted and they began living out of harmony with natural law, cultivating the vibration of fear. Consequently, their lifespan decreased tremendously, becoming just a fraction of what it had been. When Earth humanity returns to universal truth and lives again in harmony with the cosmic creation consciousness laws, our average lifespan will massively increase. Truth. The Pleiadians honor and love truth, living their lives by the universal truths. They are more interested in the truth than in being right. Many times, Billy showed them that their ideas about him and other Earth humans were false. In every instance, the Pleiadians accepted the correction graciously and humbly changed their way of thinking. They did not resist the truth in order to protect any ego stance. And this is Crispy here again, but I feel the need to mention that stories about Pleiadians having arguments or ego battles among each other is completely false. Those are not stories about Pleiadians. Now back to Jean. The Pleiadians have fluid minds that can change quickly, and they appreciate being corrected and corrective criticism so that they can become more knowledgeable and more truthful in their own beliefs. As their society is truth-based, they have consequently developed a technology that gives them extraordinary mastery over this universe. Their way of life works, and it is by aligning themselves with the truth that they have become so spiritually advanced. Peace, happiness, and long life are enjoyed by them, in contrast to our short lives of stress and strife. Billy Meier's contact notes explain many of Earth's mysteries, such as the origin of the Egyptian pyramids and the elusive Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch entities. And throughout these contacts, Semyase revealed to Billy many unusual details about our planet too. She said we just don't have our facts right about many things. For example, we're in error regarding Mount Everest as being the highest mountain on Earth. It is the highest mountain measured from sea level, but Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador is 2,150 meters higher than Mount Everest when the measurement is taken from the center of the planet. The Earth is not perfectly spherical, and it's slightly egg-shaped, elliptical. Thus, Mount Chimborazo rises from the area where the Earth has a larger diameter than the diameter beneath the Himalayan mountains. Earth scientists mistakenly assume that they can make a valid measurement just from sea level, as if sea level were exactly the same all around the sphere. But as the Earth is not spherical, the sea level is not constant. Present-day Earth society is baffling to the Pleiadians. They can't understand why we don't take care of one another and why we don't choose to live more sane and balanced lives. The Pleiadians contend that our illogical, cult-like religions are primarily to blame for our insane thinking and much of our self-destructive behavior. And Crispy say, American politics is an illogical, cult-like religion. And Jean say, the Pleiadians' contact with Billy was in hope that, through him, they could influence Earth humans to turn to the truth and adopt a more spiritual and loving way of life. They sincerely want us to be more balanced in our hearts and minds and to have a more peaceful and harmonious society. Truth, to the Pleiadians, is the very essence of their spirituality. It needs to become the essence of ours as well. I believe that the following quote, an ancient Vedic hymn, aptly sums up how the Pleiadians view truth. I salute the supreme teacher, the truth, whose nature is bliss, who is the giver of the highest happiness, who is pure wisdom, who is beyond all qualities of infinite like the sky, who is beyond words, who is one and eternal, pure and still, who is beyond all change and phenomena, and who is the silent witness to all our thoughts and emotions. I salute truth, the supreme teacher. Chapter 5, Equality. Pleiadians say that because the entire universe is the manifestation of oneness, all beings are equal, for each one is created by cosmic creation consciousness. Crispy calls this everything in existence being a holy hologram, a divine spark, a sacred fractal of God-sciousness. Genes say, every being that exists is a creature born from that great all-oneness. Some beings are more evolved than others, sure, but in essence, all beings are children of creation. Therefore, no one is better than another, or lesser than another. It is simply that some spirits are older and have had many more lifetimes of experience on one particular planet or in one particular density, and so they have gained more wisdom than younger spirits in that planet or density. But in fact, all souls and all spirits are precisely the same age. Eternal. No beginning, no ending. Additionally, the Pleiadians say there are no gods or super beings that should be worshipped just because they are more evolved. That concept is severely unevolved. Of course, neither sex is superior to the other. Women and men are spiritual equals. A soul incarnates innumerable times as a man and as a woman, thereby learning to develop both the masculine and feminine traits and leading to become a balanced whole, which is crucial for moving up the density ladder. In Pleiadian society, both sexes are treated equally, and there is no discrimination against women as there is here on Earth. The opportunities are equal for both sexes. The strengths and weaknesses of each sex are acknowledged and accepted. Women are known to be less suited to extremely hard physical tasks that demand the kind of physical strength that men possess. But women are more sensitive in their communicative abilities and hence are more companionable than males. Pleiadian beam ships are chiefly piloted by females. Semyase said that she found it perplexing that there aren't more Earth women piloting commercial aircraft. She said that the level of evolvement of a culture could be easily assessed by seeing how free the women are to do different tasks in society, and how much they are repressed and forbidden to do any things that men are allowed to do. On Era, the social ranking of an individual, if such ranking could even be applied to their society, is according to the spiritual level of the individual. The Pleiadians actually name themselves by their spiritual levels. Semyase's name translates as halfway to being an Ishrish. An Ishrish being the female lord of wisdom, a very highly evolved being who has achieved great spiritual mastery. An Ishwish is a male lord of wisdom. Ishrish and Ishwish. Semyase's father, Ptah, is an Ishwish, who is the commander of the Pleiadian mothership stationed in our solar system. These names, Semyase and Ptah, are not their true Pleiadian names that are used on their home world, but are names that the Pleiadians employ when relating to Earth humans. Semyase told Billy that their actual names were simply too difficult for Earth humans to pronounce. However, their Pleiadian names do express their spiritual level of attainment. Total racial equality exists among the Pleiadians, and this applies not only to different skin colors or facial features, but also to humans and non-humans. It is false to portray Pleiadians as being blonde-haired and blue-eyed only. They have almost as wide a racial variety as we do on Earth. But even on all of their planets, they have received less genetic influence than on Earth. On a number of occasions, Semyase was accompanied by a human woman from the Vega system who was of the black race. These two ET women related with love and equality to each other and also to Billy. And when non-human races visited the Earth, they too were treated with love, respect, kindness, compassion, and helpfulness from the Pleiadians. Humanity has to learn that all beings of whatever form are holy holograms, divine sparks, sacred fractals of creation, and therefore everything in existence should be treated with all the love and respect that anyone can possibly experience. Humans, the Pleiadians tell us, did not come from the apes. Rather, the apes came from the humans. Ancient Lyrans experimented on humans, crossbreeding them with animals. A few of these genetic experiments created the Yeti, the Sasquatch, and other apes. Intermediate mutations between the human beings and apes created what Earth scientists call Neanderthals. From the very beginning, humans were especially designed by cosmic creation consciousness, and these humans are on innumerable planets in innumerable solar systems. We are all designed to be the form that we are because of its pure functionality. Which is why, Crispy say, the divine Mayan Tzolk'in calendar of 13 days multiplied by 20 days is multidimensional and intergalactic. Genes say, when later Pleiadians came to Earth and mated with the descendants of their forefathers' experiments, they called those offspring of the unions Evas and Adams, meaning, respectively, the bearer and Earth human being. Eva is the bearer, and Adams are Earth human beings. When the Pleiadians decided to leave Earth 2,000 years ago, they called upon a very advanced spirit from a distant planet called Lason to incarnate upon Earth and to be a prophet of truth to Earth humanity. Traveling to that planet, they asked for a volunteer to come to Earth as a teacher of true spirituality. They said that after a certain number of incarnations on Earth, they would return that spirit to Lason. At that time, Lason was populated by a collective consciousness, a group of 7 souls that had bonded together in a form called collective consciousness without a physical body. All the Lason spirits had evolved beyond the need for a physical body, and so they were existing only in the fine matter or spiritual dimension, yet still connected to the planet Lason. Each of the 7 souls retained some individuality while simultaneously functioning in a collective consciousness group unit. and it is unknown how many of these group units there were on the planet. One of the souls of one of the groups volunteered to be that messenger of truth for planet Earth. With their great spiritual knowledge and advanced technology, the Pleiadians were able to transport that soul out of the fine matter realm into this 3D plane of existence and then take it to Earth. They were also able to control where and when it would incarnate. Randolph Winters describes all of this in much greater detail in his book, The Pleiadian Mission. This soul incarnated on Earth as Emmanuel, who you may also know as Yeshua ben Yosef, whose name means the one with divine knowledge. 3 centuries after his death, earthly religious authorities, anxious to create a dogmatic mythology by which they could control the masses, changed his name to Jesus Christ and altered his teachings dramatically to promote an enslaving dogma that replaced the liberating teachings of Emmanuel. The air quotes, boop, Gabriel, the quote, archangel, was the father of Emmanuel and a Pleiadian man, a human from the Pleiades. Billy's contact notes infer that Mary was impregnated naturally, not by artificial insemination. And Crispy say that the Roman, Romulan, reptilian, Catholic religion, by inserting the false belief that Yeshua, Emmanuel, was a virgin birth, further created an enormous separation between all of the rest of humanity and their fabricated characterization, who was the one and only Son of God created by virgin birth. Completely false story. Back to Jean. The Pleiadians stress that artificial insemination or virgin birth is not safe or recommended because it promotes genetic mutations, among other things. The Pleiadians guided, protected, and watched over Emmanuel, Yeshua, during his youth, and eventually directly contacted him, just like they did with Billy, and took him up into their beam ship for 40 days and 40 nights. He was at that time educated for his mission on Earth. While on board the beam ship, they used a device to mechanically awaken Emmanuel's psychic power from his soul from the planet Lasson, thus enabling him to perform the many miracles mentioned in the Bible. All of this is covered in much greater detail in Randolph Winters' book and in his cassette tape series, UFO, The Pleiadian Contacts. The book called The Talmud of Emmanuel. The true teachings of Emmanuel, Yeshua, were discovered in 1963 when the Pleiadians guided a Greek Catholic priest named Isa Rashid to the tomb of Emmanuel in Jerusalem. There he unearthed an ancient text encased in resin that was written in ancient Aramaic by Judas Iscariot. The document has been translated into English and published as the Talmud of Emmanuel by Wildflower Press. Semyase said that they enabled the Talmud to be found because the time for the truth had come. This incredible book presents a very different interpretations of the teachings of Emmanuel, Yeshua, than that offered by the Bible. It says that he survived the crucifixion, never died on the cross, and then went on to live a long life, dying at the age of approximately 115, although no one actually knows his birth date, in Srinagar, Kashmir, India. There he married at the age of 45 and had many children, whose offspring are all alive today. This book explains that the person who betrayed Emmanuel was not Judas Iscariot, his disciple, but Judah Ihariot, the son of a Pharisee. Because his name was so similar to the famous disciple, it was easy for the enemies of Emmanuel to falsely pin the blame on Judas. After the crucifixion, Judas had gone into hiding and so could not defend himself against that false rumor. Judas accompanied Emmanuel to India and eventually wrote down his true teachings, which became the Talmud of Emmanuel. After Emmanuel died at the age of 115, one of Emmanuel's sons took Judas's manuscript to Jerusalem and buried it in the family tomb where Emmanuel had been placed temporarily after the crucifixion. The true teachings that Emmanuel taught were the spiritual teachings that the Pleiadians had taught him on their beam ship in that 40-day and 40-night period. Basically, the Talmud of Emmanuel says that we humans, all over existence, incarnate over and over in order to learn life's lessons and thereby perfect our spirit in the evolution of our soul. And when we have perfected our spirit, we then merge with cosmic creation consciousness and abide in the realm of all love and light. Then we do it all again. This ancient manuscript states that we are responsible for our own spiritual growth and that there is no such thing as a savior other than the power of our own spirit. It says our innate potential is unlimited, and it is most important that we develop ourselves spiritually and grow in wisdom and knowledge. We are all divine sovereignty. We are all sovereign divinity. Here, paraphrased in my own words, are some of the salient messages from the Talmud of Emmanuel. These are Jean's own words. The greatest commandment is to achieve the wisdom of knowledge, for this will enable you to truly obey the laws of cosmic creation consciousness. In other words, consider creation alone as the supreme and ultimate power over all that exists. You are an immortal soul, for you are part of creation, the eternal existence. It is your responsibility to save yourself by the power of your spirit, which is the power of cosmic creation consciousness within you. There is no other savior than your own spirit. Let wisdom and knowledge be your friends and your source of happiness. Life in the 3D plane is meant to be the process by which you perfect your spirit lifetime after lifetime. no judgments, no souls denied. Humanity has not fallen from grace because it was never perfect in the first place. Women and all humans should be treated fairly and equally and should have the same rights as all humans. The Sabbath is a day just like any other day. It is not creational law that you shouldn't work on the Sabbath. That is a human-made law. Body and soul are one. Take care of your body so that your spirit has a healthy and adequate vehicle to experience life and learn what it needs to learn. However, some souls incarnate into bodies that have extreme challenges. This is a crucial experience in cosmic creation consciousness. I, Emmanuel, am not the Son of God or the Son of creation. I am not the Savior or the Messiah. The reptilian, Roman, Christian, Catholic, Islam, Muslim God is not the Creator, but was an ancient Lyran ward, Jehovah, who was once a ruler over many of Earth's people. Truth, wisdom, and spiritual growth will elude all of those who follow the false beliefs that proclaim me, Jesus, to be the Son of God or a Savior. I am a human being, just as you are, and only your own spirit can save you. There is only oneness, non-duality, unity consciousness. The concept of the Trinity, of me, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and God, is a falsehood and a complete corruption of my real teachings. Experiences that are so-called mistakes made in life are a necessary part of your spiritual evolution and are not sins that will be punished by a vengeful God. You are to learn from your mistakes, thereby perfecting your spirit and gaining insight, knowledge, and wisdom. Seek the truth, strive to grow spiritually, and learn to obey the laws of cosmic creation consciousness to become one with creation. This is the only true purpose of life. Study nature and you will learn the laws of cosmic creation consciousness. Do this and you will grow in wisdom and evolve your soul. Perfect your powers of discrimination, and insight and wisdom will be your gifts. The greater your attunement to the laws of cosmic creation consciousness, the greater shall be your inner and outer peace. Truth bestows inner joy. Prayer is not necessary if your soul and spirit is filled with wisdom and truth. However, if you do wish to pray, pray to the all-powerful spirit and soul within your higher self as follows. My almighty spirit, your name is sacred. May your kingdom and your power be born within me, both in my physical and spiritual life. Give me today your almighty power, so that I can recognize my mistakes and learn from them and discover the truth. Lead me not into spiritual ignorance and confusion, but redeem me from my errors. For yours is the kingdom within me, and the power and knowledge of eternity. Cosmic creation consciousness does give birth to new spirits, which must perfect themselves through the reincarnational process. As the spirits evolve, cosmic creation consciousness itself grows and evolves and becomes more perfect. Ultimately, all spirits and souls will reunite with the source cosmic creation consciousness, without exception. As you can see, feel, the Talmud of Emmanuel differs from the Bible in many ways. For example, instead of the rigid injunction to unconditionality, to always love your enemies, the Talmud says, yes, love all others, but do so with wisdom and common sense, and only when it is appropriate to do so. When someone slaps you on the cheek, you do not turn the other cheek to be also slapped 1,000,000 times in a row for 2,000 years. You rightly protect yourself by retreating or gently neutralizing the other's aggressive behavior. Protect thyself. Thy physical body is thy soul embodied. In other words, be sane, be rational, be loving, be a spiritual being who can act appropriately in any circumstance, guided by wisdom, logic, rationality, and common sense, knowing that nobody or nothing is your superior or inferior. It is this common sense approach to life that so distinguishes the Talmud of Emmanuel from the Bible. Many of the parables and stories in the Talmud are identical with those in the Bible. Often, though, they are completely the opposite. One example. In the Bible it says to take no heed of tomorrow because God will take care of you. The Talmud of Emmanuel says to take care of tomorrow. Take care of your future needs because that is the way of logic, love, wisdom, and common sense. James Deardorff, a Bible scholar, has written an excellent book that attempts to authenticate the Talmud of Emmanuel. His book, called Celestial Teachings, The Emergence of the True Teachings of Emmanuel, is published by Wildflower Press as a companion book to the Talmud of Emmanuel. It is slightly unfortunate that Billy Meier was the one to translate the Talmud, since, by his own admission, 80% of the text is now in his style and only 20% is in the original translation of Isa Rashid, the person who found the manuscript in Jerusalem. One wonders how much Billy may have altered the original text. And this is crispy here. I don't know what language we're talking about, as Billy Meier is only fluent in German, or at least only was fluent in German at the time of Semjase's interactions. So I'm not sure where Jean is coming from on this, but now back to Jean. Semjase told Billy many things about Emmanuel. To paraphrase her once again in my own words, Emmanuel was only a human being just like everyone else on your planet. He was, though, a very knowledgeable one and functioned as a teacher or prophet of spiritual knowledge and wisdom. He should not be idolized and adored. No creature should ever be idolized and adored. The truths he taught were not his truths, but the truths of cosmic creation consciousness, which Emmanuel had to learn and recognize and accept from the Pleiadians. He simply taught and revealed what is natural law in the universe, what is eternally true. He was not the embodiment of his lessons, and to regard him as such is a great error on the part of Earth humanity. The truth of the Talmud of Emmanuel should be learned without any glorification of Emmanuel. The being of Emmanuel is not important. The truth about the cosmic creation consciousness laws he revealed are what is important. And these truths are eternally true. Universal truth remains true for all time and all places. The Talmud is the only record of Emmanuel's teachings that was written during his lifetime, and it is the only book that contains the unfalsified lessons of the truth, knowledge, and wisdom of the Spirit. It alone is able to expose the untruths of the New Testament of the Bible and to destroy in many people the madness of religion, or at least to greatly temper it. Crispy here again. I am not sure that Semyase, or the other Pleiadians, knew or know about the Gospel of Thomas. Back to Jean. The name Christ is a word meaning the anointed one, and oddly enough, the word was derived from an ancient satanic cult that had a practice of murdering virgins and children and anointing themselves with the blood of their sacrificial victims, is where the word Christ came from. The Pleiadians suggested that we return to using the true name of the prophet, Emmanuel. They also suggested we use the word creation to describe the great all-oneness, which Crispy calls cosmic creation consciousness. The incomparably magnificent force that has created every physical thing and every non-physical thing in existence. The fact that we still refer to cosmic creation consciousness as Him and God is simply a remnant of when we were controlled and when we worshipped the Pleiadian warlord Jehovah as our creator or God. Billy Meier. Now we come to what is probably the most controversial aspect of Billy Meier and the Pleiadian material. The Pleiadians strongly intimated to Billy that he was the reincarnation of Emmanuel, that very same soul from the planet Lasun, or that he was someone very closely linked to Emmanuel. There are a number of places in Billy's contact notes where Semyase all but declares that he was Emmanuel. In any case, Billy apparently believes that he is the reincarnation of Emmanuel. And in this lifetime, Billy believes that he is simply continuing the mission that he had started during that earlier lifetime. The Pleiadians told him that this lifetime, he didn't need to talk to large groups of people, but instead to disseminate the eternal truths to humankind via books and other forms of mass communication. Both Billy and Semyase stress that it is of no importance who Emmanuel was. What is important is the message, not the messenger. From all I have learned about Billy Meier, I honestly do not know if he is or isn't the reincarnation of Emmanuel. It doesn't really matter to me, since I do believe that you are totally responsible for your own life and your own evolution. Neither Emmanuel, nor Billy, nor anyone else is going to do your evolving for you. Each person has to find his or her own truth. Since there is no way of validating or invalidating most of the material in Billy's contact notes, you just have to let your intuitive wisdom guide you in this matter. My advice is to follow your own heart and determine what is true for yourself. Many of the ideas presented in this book can be hard to accept. I found some of the concepts presented in contact notes to be unacceptable when I first encountered them. For example, because I looked upon androids as humans being exploited by the Pleiadians, it took me many years to come to terms with the idea that they used androids to do their menial labor. Eventually I came to understand that androids were machines, not humans, and so they were not slave laborers. They had partially organic bodies and minds and partially machine bodies, but they had no soul or spirit, and therefore were never humans. Such concepts as androids, hyperspace, time travel, etc. are so far beyond our level that to begin to understand or to even accept them can take a long, long time and much mental struggle.